guys, welcome back to Cedarwood Valley. This is episode 2, and in this episode I'm going to be finishing up my Batman area, and we're going to be naming it the Bat Cave. I know it's not really like cave-like, but I added a lot of rocks in certain places that give it that little feel, and it doesn't really have to be a realistic cave because that's not really what Cedarwood Valley is all about. So the first part of this video, I'm going in and I'm detailing behind the Batarang. And I came up with this idea just to sort of make this silhouette of a city behind it. And I couldn't decide. You saw at the beginning part, I started making, like the side walls, and I was thinking about making a whole building. And then I thought to myself, whoever bought Cedarwood Valley out and added this Batman theme was probably going to put in, cookie cutter sort of scenery and stuff like that. Whereas it wasn't very expensive, but it got the job done. And so that's why I left them completely just these very thin pieces of wall that are at the moment unsupported, but we'll get to that a little bit later in the episode. One of my big gripes with recording this episode is that my plane coaster crashed like 3 or 4 times, and I lost a whole bunch of footage, and not just the footage, but more importantly was the actual buildings and scenery or whatever I was creating at the time. So there'll be a couple of cuts in this video where, I'll explain to you. This is when I lost whatever footage and whatever scenery I was working on at the time. So these sort of buildings were inspired just by me searching up on the internet, like the Gotham City skyline or whatever. And I wasn't really sure if I wanted to make them, all Batman colored or whatnot. And I decided to go with a mix of the cool and the warm colors. So the warm being this yellow sort of color, and then the cool being the blue building. Another thing I wanted to mention was one of my favorite pieces in this game are these wooden beams, these thick wooden beams, because they can just pretty much go on anything and make everything just look a little bit neater, I guess. And when you do that with the tops of buildings, it really changes the complexion of the building, just by giving it that added roof part there, especially when these buildings are not really buildings at all, they're just a panel wall. So I think in a couple seconds here, it's going to be the first time I lose my buildings, but we'll wait for that. So anyways, yeah, I was just going through these light up signs, just looking for things that were sort of interesting looking, and things that could be or could not be, kind of like goofy, cartoony sort of light up windows like at night. And that's why I went with this sort of random patterns and the random signs and everything like that. And in the end, it turned out pretty good in terms of what was going to be in line for what something Cedarwood Valley would do. So you saw me save right there, and that was the last thing I got in before I crashed, I think like 30 minutes later, something like that. So now I'm just going back in and I'm redoing everything that I had already done. I think I did a little bit differently, but it's pretty similar to what I had actually lost. So yeah, here's just me going in and doing more just random signs, trying to make it look a little more interesting than just these flat buildings. So I wanted to change all the grays around, all the dark colors around, just to make it just that added bit of different. And now here I go into making this iron lamppost. And I actually really like the way this turns out. I like it better than the first one I did that I actually lost. So I wasn't too sad about losing this lamppost after I had gone back in and figured it out. So this top part here is like one of those big light bulb lamps. I don't even know what you want to call those things. But that's really what I wanted to get in, and I've never made something like this before. But I just wanted it to be this certain style, I guess you could say. And I'm using these icing pieces to come in as like the little iron holders or decorative pieces that hold up the lanterns on the side that I'll be placing in just a few seconds. So yeah, I actually really like the way that this turned out. So I'm going to flip it into nighttime, and I'm just going to spread these all around the Batarang. And off camera, I do a lot of the same sort of stuff in the rest of this area. I'm getting rid of some of the old lamps that I had in this area and getting these ones into the place because I just like them a lot better. So yeah, now I'm going to go and looking at the lighting here. And again, like I said, I really wanted the contrast of the cool and warm colors. And to further make that contrast, I really wanted to add in these scenery lights here, these big floodlights, to really make it stand out between the cool and the warm buildings at night. Now I'm going to a little bit of painting of the textures here that I like to use a lot. I just really like blending these textures. I think they really do look great. I know a lot of parks just have that kind of simple green grass, and it doesn't take long, and it's not that hard to just blend in some other colors from other parts of the textures that you can have in this game, and it really does add that extra realism effect to it. So now you can see me going in, just placing a whole bunch of bushes, sinking in some trees, halfway up, and that sort of difference between spinning the trees and placing them halfway in and halfway out of the ground, it really gives a much more realistic feel to the area. I end up adding a couple of dead trees or whatever. I haven't made a sign for this, but this is sort of the Gotham City Park, and we'll go into that a little bit later and what that really looks like. And so now here we go into the back, and we're going to be supporting these with probably one of my favorite building pieces in the game, because they're just so versatile, are these iron girders. And as you can see, it's just like a little backstage area. It's not really necessary. I could just fill this all in with trees, and I still might do that. But it's just something that I had to add for realism to make myself happy at the end of the day. And yeah, I do add a couple of trees behind there as well. The oak trees are particularly good at filling in the blank space in between the two areas. And now I'm going to go on to making the Batarang sign. And I actually cut out a bunch of footage here because it took me a really long time to get my Batman signal sign off of my bat signal and separate it completely from the apparatus of the lighting fixture to actually make it just this one part that I wanted to be the backdrop of the sign. A couple people commented on one of my posts saying that they really liked my sign, so I thought, why not make another custom sign? And so that's where this all comes from. And if you haven't experienced any of custom signs in your own parks, I would say just give it a try, because you never really know what can happen. It might look really bad, it might look really good, but it's all about trial and error, and that's what I like about this game. As you can see, I had a little bit of trouble with the B in the beginning, and a lot of trouble with this G in the end. As you can see, me just kind of fiddling around with the sort of the shapes here, and I kind of just took a step back, looked at it, and I go, nope, I don't like it. So I went online and I just literally searched up block G, and this is what I got from. This is my inspiration for this the second G, which is, in my opinion, a world better than the first. So yeah, again, I went a little bit further into this, and then it crashed again. So you saw the loading screen come up, and I was like, oh, I wonder where it left off. So luckily, I got this sign in, but that was the last thing that happened. I adjusted the letters, and it didn't actually have the rest of the sign done. So this is kind of more rocks and sort of that bat cave sort of feel like I was talking about, and why I named the area the Bat Cave. And so I just wanted to be like a very simple backdrop for this little sign here. Another thing I really like doing with my letters, and all my signs actually, is giving them a little bit of the shadow box effect. Now it was a little bit harder with this one because I really wanted to have like the separate pieces. As you can see, like the B is not completely connected to itself, the A doesn't have the part in the middle, the R isn't completely connected. So it was really hard to make the shadow box not connect those pieces that I specifically wanted to not be connected. Again, I'm going in with these iron girders just to create a very simple support structure for this Batarang sign. And then I save all of my custom fonts over in that corner, and you can see me saving a lot now, more frequently, because I had already crashed twice, and I really wasn't looking forward to doing it again. And I actually really like the way this turns out at night with the yellow in the background and the white in the front. And yet here's me just realizing my park is in shambles. So you have to see me do a little bit of management. But yeah, it was kind of bad at that point. I just had to get rid of it really quickly. And so this next part that comes in is from one of my older projects, and it's the Axis Chemical Meltdown live show. And if you haven't seen it, it's actually one of the most popular videos, so I'd say go ahead and check it out. We're going to check it out in the live portion of this video as well. And I'll talk a little bit about, where my inspiration came from it and all that kind of stuff. But so yeah, I put these paths in here, and there's actually little shops hidden in the back so that people actually come walking in here. And then I hide all of these benches in here so that guests will actually come in and sit down and enjoy the live show. Again, a little more of my management here. I was just getting so sick of people quitting and so sick of my guests complaining pretty much all the time. So that's why I did that. But yeah, again, you can see me sort of here. I think I was looking at the sight lines of what it would look like when you first enter this area. I wanted to kind of like segregate it from the rest of the park because, like I said, this was kind of added on as an expansion to the park. That's why it's kind of in this little weird area over here by itself, even though this this pathway behind us now is going to be running off a little bit higher up, maybe into the mountains. And so yeah, I could not figure out for the longest time what I wanted to do with this little piece of grass here that was in between the bat signal and the Batarang. And I decided that I was going to make a sequenced fountain here. There's a lot of different things. I went for like a big old custom fountain, and I tried doing some things off camera, and I just really didn't like the way it turned out. So I just wanted to do a really simple one. Kind of, here you can see my cursor moving around, because in my head I was like, how do I want these to go? And so I finally figured out which way I wanted them to go, and I very quickly laid them down on these concrete tabs, or slabs, because it was just a very easy base to place everything down on the exact same plane. You can see me adding in these big jets here, these water jet displays. They say they're small, but I'm pretty sure they're taller than the bat signal. And so then I cut out the entire part of me sequencing them, and we'll show that in the live section a little bit of what it actually turned out to be. And I actually quite like it. I ended up getting rid of those jets because they were just too tall for this little section of the park, and this is really just going to be a little simple display sequenced fountain. So now I'm adding in this little retaining wall, and again, here comes my favorite piece, the thick wooden beam, just to give that little, it's just a really small details like this really make it a lot cleaner and a lot more believable when you see the finished product. And so yeah, I'm just going to copy and paste this all the way around here to give that little, I guess that edge. It also, one of the things I want to do here was, it's so obvious when you're looking down on this, you can see all these water jets, and in real life, yeah, you could see them too, but I just really wanted to, for the peeps at least, for their point of view, I wanted to kind of hide that a little bit. You can see me here messing around with the train, and for some reason, it popped out just that little bit. You see me fast forward a little bit into the last section of this park, but yeah, I took that part out because it just took way too long, and it was really boring. And so this is the entrance to the Bat Cave. Just really simple rock work. I'm sorry for me spinning around the camera so much. Hope it doesn't make you dizzy. That's just the way I had to build this Bat Cave entrance. And I actually lost part of this as well. And then I went back in off camera and I fixed the rest of it because my game crashed yet again. And here I go taking back my same font because I quite liked it. And I was going to make the Bat Cave sign out of the same sort of theme, I guess you could say, as the Batarang. And it was really hard for me after I made this sign to kind of position it in a way where I had to be cognizant of all the different angles that the peeps would see the sign at, and this big old rock structure, which we're gonna say isn't real rocks, obviously, because it's probably just a scenery piece in the park that was created, probably out of concrete or something like that. So even though they look just like all of the real rocks in my park, we're going to say that these are the scenery rocks that were made just for this Bat Cave entrance. And so we're coming to the end here, and we're about to get into the live section, so I will see you there. Alright, well, welcome to the live portion of this video, and we're going to start with the front part over here in the entrance to the Bat Cave. Alright, so the funny thing about this is I actually had to redo it after that last part I told you guys about because it actually didn't save it. But I kind of like it this way. We'll see if I'm going to keep it. It depends on, where this pathway goes and everything like that. Alright, so now let's go in a little bit more. So I really like this little boardwalk section here, even though I haven't finished this sight line here, because, this is kind of, barren over here. I do like the way it's shaping out right now. And I'm not really sure how else I'm going to spice it up, but we'll see. Alright, so now let's go over here to the Axis Chemical Meltdown live show, which, like I said, I have a video already on, but I've never really talked about my inspiration for it too much. So this comes, kind of, inspiration for this one comes from one of my favorite parks is Six Flags Great Adventure. And they had something just like this a bunch of years ago, and I don't think, I went a couple weeks ago, and they didn't have it, and I forgot to ask someone working there if they still even run this show at all. So I'm not really sure if they do or they don't, but, so yeah, here is the set, and if you haven't watched the video, I suggest you watch it, because it's, I think it's one of like, my most popular on my YouTube channel. I'm not sure though. But yeah, so I had to put in some custom billboards for this back piece here because it just wouldn't have looked as good if it was just open behind there. And I also put in another custom billboard here, and as you can tell, it used to be just smooth concrete, and I really wasn't a big fan of that. And so I really felt like the custom billboards helped out a lot there. One of the things that's quite annoying about this is that the guests, when they come to sit over here, they don't always sit the right way because, as you saw in the fast forward videos, I usually put down this western bench because it's the one with the lowest profile and it's easiest to get underneath things, right? So I think I put one right here or something like that, maybe one over here. But the problem is they don't always sit on it the right way. The guests will sit on it backwards. Right now I'm going to fast forward and hopefully we can find someone that does that. And here we are, people sitting on the bench the wrong way. And the thing that's so annoying about this is that I can't like flip it around with Z, like I'm spamming Z right now. I can't flip it around. It's just, oh, it's so annoying the way that works. But it's not the biggest thing that's wrong with this. But anyways, we're going to go look at some other parts that I was working on. So as you can tell, there's like a lot of foliage and all of these fences and these light posts that I didn't put in the footage because I just thought it was kind of redundant and I didn't think you were very interested in that. Anyways, we're going to come over here to Batarang. And so this is what the finished product looks like during the day. And there's no one really riding it right now, but there were a bunch of people over here earlier. And here is the sign here that I made, and I'm actually quite happy with the way it turned out, besides the fact that this red in here cannot be changed. I don't know why it's like that, but at night it lights up, and I'll show you part of that when we get into the night section of this video. And so now we go over here, we see Batman and Robin, Revenge of the Chiller, and then behind us here is this little section of the pond that I made with the sequencer and the events that are going on here. And so one of the reasons that I built this wall here was so that you can kind of hide it from the guests, hide the water spouts that are in there from the guests, because you see it from the guest point of view, it's kind of hard to see, whereas if you're up here you can kind of tell very easily that they're in there. But that's how it is in real life, so I'm actually quite happy with the way it turned out in terms of the way the guests would see it, like this. So yeah, I just kind of made it really simple. It's like sort of like a wave sort of thing going back and forth, and then sometimes it'll circle around this and put up a big splash. I don't know, it's just what I came up with to fit in this little corner over here that I had left empty for so long because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Yeah, so let's go over here a little more now, kind of the last sort of section that I did, or that I polished off camera. And we're just going to take a quick look over here. Yeah, so this is what I ended up putting in. I put in a little flower box here, and then I put in some rocks over here to kind of give that more cave feel. Because, you know, it's called the Bat Cave. I'm not really sure why I called it the Bat Cave, but I stuck with it. And then here's Bat Signal. And then we're going to go back to the front, and we're just going to do a quick little overview at night for you. Okay, so here we are at the entrance at night. And this is another thing that I had a little bit of trouble with, because I wasn't sure what I really wanted to do with it. So I ended up going with these yellow mixed with these white lights on the front, and on the back I went with a yellow and red, kind of a little bit darker, because as you're leaving it's not as important, rather than when you're coming in you want to see it big and bright. So that's why I did it that way. You can see the big spotlight now. You can see all these different accent lights. Like I said, I wanted to mix the warm and the cool colors, just like I did over there, which we'll go talk about in a second. And on these same rocks over here, a little bit of the yellow hint to them. And for those of you who haven't seen the other video with Axis Chemical, this is what it looks like on the inside at night. You know, if the water effects and the smoke effects worked at night, this show would be amazing. at night. But unfortunately, as you know, the water effects don't quite work, and they don't light up the way you would expect them to at night. So that's why I have the video recordings of the scenery during the day, not at night. So I'm going to come over here to Batarang again, and this is what it looks like at night. And I'm actually really, I really like the way how bright the signs are in the background. It really gives it just that extra something that it didn't have before. And here again, you can see this red on here that is kind of ruining the whole Batman color scheme, especially at night. But what are you going to do? You can't change that. And then behind us, of course, is a little fountain section. And so this is how Batman Robin Revenge of the Chiller looks at night. Coming over here, I lit up these tracks a little bit more because in my opinion, sorry about that. In my opinion, Roller Coaster Strike is some of the most beautiful scenery in this game. And so to kind of take away from this sort of boring fence here, I put no emphasis or any attraction to this. I put all of the lights and all the attraction on the coaster itself to kind of give it that look. So we're going to come out here, we're going to zoom out like I always do, show you what it all looks like all together, and that's going to be the end of this video. So yeah, this is what this section is 99% finished, I would say. All I need to do is maybe a little more backstage over here to make it look like it actually has a little bit of maintenance to it and a little bit of effort going into the actual show itself. So yeah, I want to thank you again for joining me here in Cedarwood Valley, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.